Hello there, I'm Verna, and I'm glad you decided to paint. Your brilliant beginning is nesting in your noggin. Let's go in there and find it, okay? I prepared the palette. I kind of runny this copal. I put the copal in the middle, and here's the yellow, the blue. I'm using Prussian blue, and this is a high price spread, but you can use Grumbacher red if you don't want to pay for all that. And this is titanium white. And we're going to paint this mountain, and maybe I can kind of leave this here. I don't know. Let's see. So I've sketched this all out, and I wrote in the colors here. So we're going to kind of start with our dark colors, but we'll start with this. You always start with your sky first, and make it in the blue tones for distance. Have a blue tone sky. But we're also going to have some of this scarlet vermilion up here in the sky. So well, I got up and sanded off my knife, and I mixed up some more colors. I thought something was wrong with the canvas, but I have to remember to put this palette up so you can see it. But I mixed a gray blue here for the lower sky, and this for the higher sky. So we're just using these three colors, okay? And white. You know, it's impossible to do a couple of coats here in 2 hours. But let's learn the technique. I think the first coat shows up the best against white, and learn how we're doing it. Then I like to put 2 thin coats on rather than one rather thick one. I think the first coat should be quite thin, you know, because I don't know how much you prepare a canvas, but it ends up that the canvas will soak up your paint. Yeah. I thought something was wrong with the canvas. It's not. It's palette knife. I had let paint dry up under it. If you run into those things, just use sandpaper. I keep sandpaper handy in case a chunk of paint dries and gets, you know, like first coat, you got something hanging on there and you can't scrape it off. Let it dry and then sandpaper it, and then you can paint over anything second time. You want to look at the palette here and see what I'm doing. It's that copal running all over the place. Now, for the sky, the reason we start with the sky is we start with the distance first, and the blue is your distant color, and it starts coming forward. And this red up here is closer to you. It's overhead. See. Now, if there's any part of this that looks a little weak, just you know, let it dry and give it another coat. Or take some Kleenex or tissue and just rub that same color in, and you'll never know Like if you got one little spot here, it didn't cover too good or something. Now, watch the stroke of the knife. Always, when you're studying paintings, look at the strokes of the knife in the brush. Because, now, why am I stirring it all around? Is because this is atmosphere and it's moving. So I just try to get the knife to go this way, say this way. See what I'm trying to do? And you know, in 2 hours I can't possibly paint this whole thing. What I'm going to do, we're going to take sections of it, and I don't know, you got the hang of it. You know what I'm doing here. It's just a blue and vermilion, and it should have a little more yellow, a little tiny bit of yellow and some white in it. Okay. Now this is about all we're going to do in the sky, and I'm not kidding. You have to come back at times and give it another coat. These are light colors. A little more white in it. I want you to see how I add get some texture. The whole idea was get some of this scarlet vermilion. When you're looking at paintings in the museums, notice this scarlet vermilion. I started watching that more than I did shadows, you know, and I noticed that for the real fine old masters, they learned how to pick that up with a thin thing like that, very fine, to put on, you know, like a mountain crest or something, and just be ever watching for what they've done with this. See, I'm going to blend a little bit of this in. Now, to show you, it's like, if you want to come in and kind of touch up a little bit and take some of this, you know, and you're going to put it in there, just take it like this. This is bathroom tissue. And just add a little bit more if you want to, or this really needs another coat. It's, you know, it's skunky. So now I'm going to go back down this gray, blue and red. If it's just a little stronger, a little more red and a little more gray, just enough that you can tell it here on the palette. If you can see it on the palette, and you can see it on the painting. And we're going to make this mountain come a little bit forward because we're making the color stronger. Okay? There, see, that's stronger than this. Okay? And now, go up here. And I'm going to fade that out pretty much. I don't want it to tell much difference between that and the sky. It does, though. But what I'm showing you, it's just about this. In our classes here, we teach, my daughter teaches too, and key to it is blend. Now, well, we mean blend. And I'll show you here in a minute. Okay, I got that all piled on there. Okie doke. Now, I'm cleaning my knife on the palette there. I don't want to lose that good paint. Now watch me clean that knife and blend. That's what got that paint stuck up on the bottom of my knife. Okay. You see this knife? Now, I got that blended pretty good. So clean the knife and blend. That clean knife with that. And just remember to have that tissue there. See, well, that mountain shows up. See how it fades off to oblivion over here? That's my husband. He's got a instrument business going on. Could take it up to the shop, but he likes it here. Now, see what I did? I come right down on the mountain. Isn't that good? See? And it's just a whisper. Really. And you know what this is good for? Flowers. Excellent for flowers. My daughter does great big leafy petals, and she learned to blend. And see, I got the stroke kind of going with this. And you see, well, why did I leave this? I'm not through with it yet. So we're gonna now we're gonna use it thicker because these little snow caps want some broken lines and light. See? Pat, pat, pat. See? Yeah, see how distant that looks? You see? So, well, you know what I told you? I was going to put in, not quite ready to, but I am going to put in a little Mars black. We're going to use a little black and a little burnt umber. Mars black. And it's not in the rules, but we're going to break the rules. And I've seen everything in paintings. I am just do it any way you can get that paint on there. I've seen some of the top artists just take a little black and outline their waves and all. And now I just want this little bit of black blended in with this bluish gray. Not a lot, but you'll see here. All right. Now I want to make a lip in here, just a little under shadow. This. I know you're wondering, well, what success can you get out of this painting? I have sold these things by the ton. I'm not kidding you. I have sold, the one I got here in the floor is, it's 2.5 feet by 5. And I got kind of attached to it. I haven't been out trying to sell much, but I'll go back to this blue gray. Because I put all the colors in their places. See, get them in their places, and then we'll blend. I got to remember to put this palette up here. tell you something else. If I take a knife, this is a pretty large knife, but if I take just a small knife and do a little bitty painting, it's probably, worth, maybe $20 at the most. But I can take the same amount of strokes with a larger knife. It's just like a little paintbrush or a big wide one, house painting brush. I can paint a huge 4-foot, 5-foot painting by, say, 3 feet. Not much more time, it's just I swing my arm bigger. And then what's your propositions to get the possibilities to get a bigger price? Well, for your painting. Well, a big painting, if it's done well, and you might want to work on it a couple of 3 coats. Something. Now, get some more of these little broken lines and sand a little bit. See, I don't want to put too much there on detail. I just make it a vapor. See, just so if you can just barely see it and it's kind of blended in, Don't worry about it too much. These mountains, they just go in every old which way shapes, Get back up to here. I'm going to put in some shadows. Look at that copal. If I drip that copal in each one of them, so I have to try to put it in each pile, and up here, maybe it won't run off the page. So I'm not teaching you that this is the only way you can paint. I'm teaching you that this is very basic, and once you can paint this, you let this thing set up, put another coat on it, and you can take a little brush after it's good and dry. You can go, paint some little deer in here or some wildflowers. Well, it's kind of distance for that, but this isn't the end of it, That's the beginning. I had a seascape out here that I put one coat on it, and I didn't care for that painting, and I couldn't figure, it was back when I was learning, and I wasn't sure I liked that painting, and I couldn't really tell you what it was about it I didn't like. And I analyzed it, and I decided that everything was okay. It just it kind of soaked up in the canvas, And so I took a sandpaper and I sanded off all the chunky places because it had an excellent composition. It had a big wave and all. And what I realized was the painting just wasn't finished, really. And I gave that another coat, and that undercoat was just exactly what it needed, And now this, I'm going to put the darker. Add a darker mass, has a little bit of black with it. And go up under these little ridges. And I want to keep the black there. I don't want that thing going any further than that. And here. because I don't know, these are kind of spooky up there, and I don't know another better way to make something spooky than black. Not out trying to paint spooky pictures, but you know what I mean. There we go. Now, the way that this is drawn, you know, and then I put white, blue, white, burnt umber, white. I mark those in, it's called planes. And if we don't, this is charcoal, and if you want to use a water base pen, a water base brush pen, you can draw over that too. What I like about charcoal, when I had enough of it, I rub it right off, see? And it isn't hurting, it just blends right in, see? It's not doing a thing. And so these points here with a little black makes it just a little more rugged. So I'll paint some of this in here. If you start getting messed up and get your blacks mixed in with your whites and you're totally crazy, then just wait till next day or so after it dries and just put your whites in the best you can, you know. And if you can't, just wait. Maybe you might even want to put it in with a brush. And your lights go in last, like your white. And I want to try to get this blue. That's some interesting things to show you and techniques. But we want to learn how you go about it. Now, listen, I know that even very beginners, if you want to take this same painting and put this on a large canvas, and you know how to go about doing it, see, nothing's going to stop you. And by the way, that seascape I was telling you about, and I went to sleep here, that seascape sold for $3,000 back years ago when that was considered pretty good. So I'll put some of that there and some of this here. Fix it's just a little patience. Don't throw it away or, you know, or anything. Just give it some time. And I had one the other day. It bothered me, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I put it up there by the TV so that I could look up there and see. And nothing wrong with the picture. It just needed a little more just needed a little edges softened, need a little tissue gone over the dry, you know. And it wasn't that big of a problem. And don't give up. Just wait until you rest a little bit, and you get up, and then you know exactly what. I will go and finish the picture, but I'm going to go as far as I can here. And, well, that looks kind of messy. Yeah, that looks... This light blue shadow, this is shadow, gives a background for this darker pegs that come down. You go on, you do these other mountains the same way. If we don't get to them, I'm going to use an hour on this and then go down further. Now, we're going right back to this. And clean the knife and blend. And clean the knife and blend. Okay. Now, you know, any way that you can get that paint on there is legal. Some people's got their fingers in it. You know, if they want it on their fingers, it's okay just to get that effect, see? And now I want a little bit of white in there to give it a hollow look. Get a little shape. A little bit too monotonous. You know, I feel kind of strong about do it, you know, paint whatever you want to, but when I was learning, I had to choose between what I was going to really excel in. Was I going to choose portraits, which is very, very difficult, quite a challenge, or was I going to choose to paint mountains? Mountains didn't seem too hard for me. But the seascapes, that sea would not pose for me. It wiggled, and I said, I am trying to sketch you. And that thing just kept wiggling. I couldn't figure out how the wave turned. I got a good Nikon camera, and I had slides back then, and a little projector, and I just plain sat there for my own pictures, which is legal, that's not copying, and I photographed that thing, and I sat there and I drew it, and then I followed through, and then I kind of understood a little bit about the lines, because they are difficult. I'll give you an idea. But it's this blending. See, how do you get that? You blend it, not scrape it. You rub it into the canvas. You mash it in. It's not lack of paint that makes it delicate. There's plenty of paint. You just downright rub it in. And just keep a stir and then try to watch the lines, the strokes. And This is why I like an undercoat, because the undercoat does not have to be in detail at all. Just get it on there, then the paint will stand up. And some of this. See how that knife just comes in there. I really like to put the white on after it dries. I'm really trying to see this thing here. I like to get the sky just a little more covered. You know, if the fine paintings are not just thrown together, they're planned. It takes a lifetime to learn how to do it. That's what I'm saying about not skipping around too much. But well, you know, like a brain surgeon, he specializes just in brains, and he's probably not the best one for something else. And when you specialize, you find a style that suits you, that brings out the best in you. And maybe it's not mountains, maybe you're not the same type artist I am. These will help you though, because you can use this technique in flowers or anything else. But I've had some students, and some of them, no way could you quiet them down with their colors. They were just really bold. Well, there's a place for them. There's a place for that kind of art, really. And some of them had a tendency to have very soft and very, very skillful strokes. And you know, my daughter was in college, and she was trying to paint my Black Mountains. And they were not what they ought to be. It just wasn't her. And I looked at her, and she's such a pretty little thing. She's like a doll. And said, Janice, I said, why don't you paint flowers? You're more, you know, you didn't grow up in the mountains, and I did. And I said, you paint flowers. It's more your style. And she did. And I didn't teach her. I just went out and I told her how to bring in the light and the vapor and to blend. And she was a flower artist. Everything I had been working out on flowers, she did it better than I did. And I still like her. But you know, everybody is not the same type. You know, I like to paint little vegetable gardens. I didn't grow up around the sea, and I'm not particularly adapt to sea pictures. I don't think the sea came easy for me. I got it now, but I had a lady that was very good at the tidal waves in the sea, and she couldn't really do rocks. just didn't work for her to do rocks. And what I try to help her with the rocks, but I told her to stick with scenes, the part she did well, and she did. And she took a national first prize. I was so proud of her. That's something that dealing with her, I told her, I said, you don't need a teacher, you need a coach. And that's when I looked at her paintings, and they were small, they were dark, but they were excellent. But they didn't zoom, you know, any great appeal. They're too sad. And yet she could do these tide pools better than anybody I ever saw. Just excellent. She just had a tendency to do tide pools. And I said, well, the sea is big. Paint a great big canvas. The redwoods are big. The mountains are big. Paint them big. Well, she did. And I didn't work with her on the painting. She just went home and did it. But I coached her, brought out her good qualities, and she put a few little rocks in. She wasn't it, but she put a few of them in. Took that national first prize. I mean, it really was. And I had another one that was very keen on color. And what they need is just encouragement. Now, I don't know. Put this white in again. And see, these are planes. Yeah. Some people like to paint wildlife. But see, horses or animals, but you gotta have these mountain peaks for your background. Let that dry and put in your little creatures there in the foreground. The brush, it should work out pretty good. Very simple. I picked a mountain because I thought it would have most appeal in what you're learning, and you'd have a good possibility of selling it or hanging it. Yeah, I don't think you can go too far wrong. You get one of these lumps in the wrong place, it don't really matter. I don't think anybody's going to go out and check the shadows. If it looks, you got them lined up, the sun, you got it pretty good. stronger colors, the lighter you go. Heavier and stronger. We got some blue that goes in here. And our little way how we clean an eye. And that's the way the palette looks, and bring some white in here. Say, well, that looks muddy and gray. I'm glad you said that. Exactly what we want. Muddy and gray. Now don't worry about this white. We'll come in after it dries. And I'm laying it on rather chunky. And see. Notice the direction of the knife. And I'm going to save our camera time, and I'm going to go on over here with these colors, and I'll come back to you. But yes, these are going to be highlighted with these little reds. It's going to be really pretty. We're going to get on down to where we can finish our painting. Well, I went ahead and put in some grays, and I want to talk about grays. Grays are an artist's trademark, and you saw the simple palette we used here. And you get these grays and get them blended, then the final, putting the whites on, is not much of a deal. You just slap them on there. You see the warm sunlight began over here, and it went cool, see, and this went warm into cool, and still we got some highlights of the scarlet vermilion on there, and there's some places here where it looks a little scratchy and all over. But that's the advantage of using two coats. I don't know how to give it a quality without two coats. This is a little heavy if you're going to put another coat on. But if you do put a coat on, another coat on, maybe only partial. But the thing is, you've learned the basics, how to get these. Make sure your sketch is very good, and stand back. Make sure it's balanced, so you don't have to fight that. And then you get the grays in their places, and balance that. And we'll just keep working on it here. And I'm going to have a break pretty soon, and we're going to go through the studio and see some of the large paintings, and then you'll know that it's worth the patience to sit there and blend. Honestly, it's a blending. And maybe you wonder why you paint the mountains. Well, if you look at a rock, bring in a handful of rocks and put them in a pan of water, maybe so big. Maybe some branches, lay them in there, set the lamp on it, and just sit there and look at them a little bit. See where the light comes across, see? You find these same rocks are in the ocean. They're in little tiny rocks, and they're big rocks, you know. But a rock picks up light in the crevices, and you could compose a picture just from a handful of rocks. Now, let's see, we came on down to this, and we've got another one of these over here, and we're kind of trying to move along here, and so, boy, these paints can mix you up. You can't hardly tell what you got. Here's an umber, Prussian blue. That's not it. See, umber. Now, I'm bringing these browns and blacks in here, but you know, you can get all the colors you want with the 3 primary colors. You don't have to do this, but I like them, and the idea, I'm trying to keep a simple palette and show you what a simple palette is. It's what you can paint with it. And then, as you move along, you'll be adding some things, but just don't like put something here that you don't put here, something like, keep it coordinated, keep the same colors going all through the painting as much as possible, so you haven't got a mess. Mostly, I want you to see the strokes and the technique, and all this blending, you know, because this is a basis of anything you want to paint. If you haven't got someone to help you, and you got this one little lesson, you can paint, because you got the hang of it. I remember years ago I went to a art group, and I didn't know what they did with that paint, and so I just sat there in the back of the room and just, I got behind everybody, and then I kind of looked around and see what they were doing with it. I didn't even know you put it on this palette to mix it. I mean, nobody told me. I didn't know you put it on this thing and stir it. Get your big palette and stir it. Well, who would have ever? Somehow I kind of knew, but I didn't. You know what I was doing? I was taking the brush and sticking it down in the tube. That's how far I've come. It's kind of funny. Most of you probably know better than that. But I didn't know. I was a cartoonist. I still do a few cartoons, but I hope these tapes fall in the hands of people that need therapy, you know, trying to overcome heart trouble or something. It's a wonderful, all arts and crafts are wonderful for therapy. You get lost in it and you forget yourself and your troubles. I had so many of them in my class, and they started off, they were feeling so bad. And I just got them a cup of coffee and babied them up, and I love to do that. But I never heard anybody remembering how bad things were. They were just having so much fun. So this, it's too bad, you know, some people have to go to work sick or something, but it's not, this isn't just for sick people. This is, you can go to some shows and can make some money. My daughter paid her way through college and had a new Buick to drive to school just from taking art classes at home. And she was beginning to paint pretty good. It took a lot to show her how talented she was. And if you want to hear a little brother story, she kept throwing this painting out that she had done. It was all warped up, and he had her hollering pretty good, so she threw it in the garbage, and he got it out. And she had a boyfriend coming, and that painting showed up by Janice and her age on it, age 17 or something like that. And he was just having the time of his life teasing her with that thing. She just hated it, and she just screamed. So I said, well, I'll take it to the show. Mark was about 10. You're just at the age where you know, anyhow. And I took it to the show, and I sold it for $40. I told her to kind of brighten it up in a few places. And so I come back, and I was going to give Mark the $40 because he liked the painting and she hated it. Well, about that time, she said she could use more wigs and more Capicio shoes and all the things that she uses. And she understood then she had something to reconsider. And the kids have taken prizes and in art. They've just done real well. Now, these are grays again, and see, I come forward a little more brown because it's the reds and earth colors, see, come forward. They're down to earth colors. And so don't let people tease you with your paintings. It'll be just the ones that's never tried to accomplish anything skillful that'll do such a thing. I don't think they will. It's just, somebody's just downright out to destroy it. But I won't let anyone be criticized in my class at all. I encourage them, and that's all. I don't tear their paintings down at all. I don't believe in it. I had it done to me once years ago, and I knew better to take it serious, but nothing stopped me, really. Now, what I want to do is to bring this. Some of these things up there can have a little more touch to it. I don't have to leave them like that. But when they set up the second day, I want to get this gray mist down here. I remember to put this palette up there. See how I stir on that thing? Let's see. We got some blue and some red and copal and see that okay? A little yellow, a little umber. And Then let's plain throw some white in there and mix it on the canvas. How's that? Oh, Verna, you messed up the trees. Well, I messed up a lot of things. I put those in there so we can balance the picture. And if you like those water-based pins to find lines. I got some lumps in here on this canvas. I think the main thing is to get the technique. And you can say, oh, this is complicated, and and knife don't do what you want it to. Do you remember when you first rode a bicycle or roller skated, you'd wonder what kind of a mind would think up a thing like that? No way are these skates going to work, and no way is that bike going to do what I want it to do, because I get on that thing and it does a lot of things, but not what I had in mind. And the second time you get on, you get a few more bumps, but not the 20th or the 50th. A few more times, some of you probably got right on and went. And this is very much like trying to get those roller skates to balance and not go too fast, not go too slow, to get the right light, to get enough gray, not enough gray, or to balance. It's a skill, and that's the best way I can tell you, because I know that it doesn't come the first time. And if it did, anybody could do it. We're picking something here that we're going to challenge, and we're going to learn to do it. And it's just take your time and keep practicing. But go by what you've been taught. And from this painting, I'm not kidding you, you will go in to the museums, and you'll go into the better galleries and look at the finer paintings of mountains, and you'll begin to feel and see what that artist felt and saw, and you're going to begin to feel like you're right in it. Tom Moran did mountains. Oh, he did some fantastic Western, Bierstadt, but there's some new ones, and their things are just great. And they all learned in the museums. They learned